Good afternoon, patrons. I'm John, this is Many a True Nerd, and welcome to Patroncast of March. A bit, sort of, kind of. Yeah, this one's late too. Sorry, it's a busy time of year. We're still kind of in the middle of Fallout 4 and its DLCs and new modes. Survival mode completely caught me off guard. Like, survival mode, I swore blind they wouldn't just launch it out of nowhere, because I thought, like, it's going to be such a big important thing to the community. Then obviously what they'll do is eventually they'll, like, announce it, and it'll be pre-announced, and they'll announce, like, all the stuff that's going to be in it, and then they'll give us a date, and it'll be, like, a week after they announce it, and we'll have plenty of time to prepare for it, and then they just kind of said, oh, by the way, it's out today. It's like, oh, it's out today? Right. Okay. I just had to kind of get on it. So survival mode threw me off a bit, and all of a sudden, like, my backlog of videos had to be completely, like, thrown way out into the future, and videos that were scheduled to happen in March have been pushed out to late April because survival mode started taking up loads and loads of space. And originally I was planning for, well, I was hoping and kind of assuming that No Guns was going to finish at about when survival mode came in, which is why, like, at the point when survival mode came out, there was a bit of, like, weirdness where, like, the schedule suddenly didn't make any sense whatsoever, and, like, there was just a random No Guns on Wednesday before it moved to Saturday, and a couple of parts had already been recorded, so weren't acknowledging that survival mode even existed anymore, and yeah, it was a bit messy. But after we got through the messiness, it's actually been a really, really good month for the channel. For those of you who like watching numbers slowly go up, and who wouldn't like watching numbers very slowly go up, you may notice actually it's been a really good month for the channel in terms of new subscribers coming in. We've had like 10,000 new subscribers arrive in the last 2 weeks. Now, most of that is off the back of the new survival mode update. Actually, if you kind of search for like Fallout 4 survival mode and stuff like that in Google, and you can always know, because like when you search for something in YouTube, you kind of get results that are personalized to you based on stuff you've watched in the past. But if you go into like a Firefox private window or a Google Chrome incognito window, you can get a better feeling for what's actually going on in the world, like what everyone like roughly will see just on average. So like if you search for Fallout 4 survival mode there, I think we're like ranking not just number one, but like loads of the top spots are our series for survival mode, and our channel gets suggested as well, which is really, really good. And I don't know why, but like lots of other like prominent Fallout YouTubers were really, really slow off the mark with survival mode. I've no idea why, because like I kind of pinned it as like being one of the big important updates. I've been way more excited for survival mode than I am about, say, Wasteland Workshop that's coming out on Tuesday. I think like, it's more important and exciting and interesting to me than Automatron was. I think it's arguably probably going to be more interesting to me and kind of give me more hours of playtime, the new survival mode will, than Far Harbor ultimately will. It's very, very interesting indeed. But for whatever reason, lots of other YouTubers will slow off the mark. So I think we've actually been able to get out what's pretty much like the biggest, most popular survival mode series on YouTube at the moment, which is really, really cool, and it's brought loads of new people in. And that means we're kind of like, at the moment of like speaking, we're really, really close to 170,000 subscribers. We might well be like, past 170,000 by the time this video goes out. Depends what day I get out. I'm recording this on Sunday. I might try and get this out on Sunday evening if I can. I don't know how feasible that's going to be. Like, 175 is like the big milestone I'll actually make a video for. 175 is, I haven't decided for certain what the video is going to be. It might be Dark Souls. I've never really played Dark Souls at all. I'm vaguely thinking Dark Souls. I'd like to kind of do one of those videos which I don't want to do a full series on. I don't really want to do a full series on Dark Souls. Oh, I might decide to do a full series on Dark Souls, but I don't plan to. So I might kind of look at Dark Souls for 175,000. I'd like to do one of those videos that gets suggested quite a lot for 175,000. So we'll see. We'll see. Other than that, the April Fool's video went fantastically well. Much better than the last time I did Skyrim, where it was the kill everything fake out. This one went down much better, which I guess is just because, I think people acknowledge like a huge amount of effort went in. That took 2 days. That took 2 days worth of recording and editing and putting together. That took, like, the April Fool's videos take more work than a normal video. They really do take an awful lot of work. But that went down really, really well as well. That actually ranked for Skyrim in YouTube briefly. I'm not sure it is doing anymore, but it was kind of ranking mid on the first page for Skyrim for a bit, which is very, very cool indeed. But yeah, the big thing obviously that's bothering me at the moment is obviously Fallout 3 You Only Live Once is going to end. It's going to end tonight. or yesterday, or it already did. Depending on what day this video goes out, depending on what day I get this out. Yes, it's kind of ending about now, which means next Sunday, of course, we've got to have something new in that slot for kind of the older Fallout slot on Sunday. And I still don't know exactly what that is. I've got like loads of different ideas, and every day I come up with a different kind of opinion as to which one of them is the best one. Like, because we're on the PC now, we'll be able to move like the old Fallouts over to the new PC. I can like start modding, so I can actually like do some stuff which I've always planned to do but couldn't really get around to before, whether that be particular mods or just doing some slight tweaks to the game to kind of suit some different rule sets. I just don't know what is the best one. I will have to decide by next week, because something has to go out next Sunday, so I'm going to need to decide very, very soon indeed. But like, there's a few options I'm considering, like some of you will be familiar with the Sawyer mod, which is like kind of like the equivalent of like it's the closest thing to a survival mode in Fallout New Vegas, which I kind of like the idea of, because, you know, we're doing Fallout 4 survival, so it might be fun to do like a New Vegas, like more proper hardcore survival mode, and maybe do that on like very hard, because it's like that mode's like optimized for hard, so maybe it will be fun to do it on very hard mode or something like that. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, Sawyer mod on very hard mode, that's kind of one option. Dust. Fallout New Vegas Dust is another option. That one I'm not 100% sure on. Maybe I'll like have a poke at Dust. I don't know. I'm really not sure. Then there's like a few others. Like the big one, and one that obviously gets asked about a lot, is Fallout New Vegas Kill Everything Remastered. I'm just not 100% sure. The thing is, I've got a really, really it's genuinely fantastic. Like, I've got the first episode of that planned out. I know exactly how that goes in my head, and it's a really, really big, cool step up on everything that was in Fallout New Vegas, the original Kill Everything, and I'd say, like, you know, up there with the best of what's in Fallout 3, Kill Everything. I genuinely think it's a fantastic opening episode. I just don't know if I've, like, got enough new, interesting ideas yet for me to all make it happen as a whole series. Like, I could make a really fantastic first episode, but I don't want to go from that into a really disappointing second episode. So I might kind of like, I've got a journal where I like scribble down ideas for series, and there's like a huge number of scrolls related to Fallout New Vegas Kill Everything version 2. And I'm going to go through that this week and try and figure out if there's enough new material in mind for me to actually do that yet. Like, I'm vaguely tempted to do something a little bit lower effort, because like, you got to bear in mind, like, for the last like year and a half pretty much, I've been doing like every single week I've been doing You Only Live Once. That's a stressful series to record. I wouldn't mind doing something a little bit more chill, especially as I'm doing Fallout 4 survival mode at the same time, so I wouldn't mind like a short series that's just a little bit more chill. And yeah, the Sawyer mod on very hard could be a nice solution to that, I guess. I know, like, you know, a survival mode on very hard doesn't sound chill, but for me, I think that's relatively chill next to Kill Everything, because Kill Everything, that's a lot of effort. That's a huge amount of effort. Putting together the Kill Everything episodes is, that takes hours and hours and hours and hours. It's very, very time consuming. So I will see. I will kind of just have a play around with those options, and I'll probably like, maybe I'll make like the first episode for 2 different series and see which I think is working best, but I'm just not 100% sure yet. So who knows what's going to happen next Sunday? I've absolutely no bloody clue. Of course, you know, old Fallout is an option too. The original Fallout 1 and 2 are kind of still kind of options on the table. I don't think I want to do those just yet. I want to wait until Fallout 4 dies down a bit first, and we move Fallout 4 down to like 1 episode a week after the initial kind of period of survival mode and all the DLCs and stuff. I think probably you'll get an old Fallout, almost certainly Fallout 1 rather than Fallout 2. We'll start with Fallout 1. Kind of that's probably the second half of the year. But that's kind of vaguely what I'm thinking about. I was vaguely thinking about doing like a discussion about Let's Plays and developers and kind of feeding into like the that Dragon Cancer discussion this month. But I kind of feel like actually, like, you know, with You Only Live Once ending and like me thinking about the future of Forge on the channel, I kind of wanted to make this kind of the centerpiece of the video instead. I'll do a kind of a talky piece next month, or rather later this month, because the actual April Patroncast is gonna fall in April. Yell at me if it doesn't, because it will. It's gonna happen, totally. But yeah, I kind of wanted to focus on Fallout. It's just really, really tricky. And like, there's other little ideas I've got for Fallout as well. Like, those of you who know Matophobia, like, might know that kind of on occasion, like, he did the stream where I think he did it just as a joke, where he wanted to run all of the rule sets I did at once, where he wanted to do like no kill, you only live once, and that sort of thing. Like, and like I wouldn't mind actually trying that, like, seriously. Like a New Vegas, like, no kill, you only live once, because some people like think of you only live once. Like, if there's like one problem with it, it's that sometimes it descends into sniping. There's an awful lot of getting overpowered and then killing enemies before they even see you. So I don't know, maybe like a no kill, no healing permadeath type thing would actually be kind of a cool little experiment. Just kind of see, can you get to the end of the main game, where it doesn't even like last that long. It's a relatively short series, but it might just be a nice little stopgap. But I don't know if that's the right thing to immediately follow on from a full long series of You Only Live Once, if it's a bit weird to go straight into like a variant of You Only Live Once. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe something a bit more relaxed might be good. Like, in terms of tone, Kill Everything appeals to me most, because I'd like to follow something that's like been really, really really stressful and tense, and like a high skills challenge run with lots of planning, with something that's kind of much more light-hearted and a bit of a jaunt around New Vegas, and kind of something that's kind of more heavily edited comedy stuff. I like that idea. But I'd kind of like to do something that's relatively low effort. And I don't mean that in the sense of, like, I don't want you to read that as, like, I am lazy and I can't be bothered to make good videos. These videos would still, whichever series it was, would still be, like, heavily edited and whatever. But I wouldn't mind something that's, like, a little bit less really high intensity to make, especially while I'm doing Fallout 4 Survival Mode. Fallout 4 Survival Mode is actually really intense to make, because the thing is, because the save points are so far apart, if I die, then I go back to a save point that's actually quite a long way back, and then I kind of go back to where I was off screen, because I just cut to that, which you might have noticed in like the most recent part, episode 4, The Walking Dead, of Fallout 4 Survival, when I got nuked by that guy up on the bridge in Corvega. I got sent back to Sanctuary, and I had to therefore, walk all the way back from Sanctuary Hills, going through all the things I just did again to get back to Corvega, but all that gets cut out. So there's like 15 minutes of cut footage there, which is completely like worthless for anything. So like, I can record for 2.5 hours, and if I get unlucky with a couple of kills and survival mode is hard, I might only get a half-hour episode out of that. So it takes a lot of time to record Fallout 4 survival mode. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I'd like to do something like taking on Fallout New Vegas Kill Everything 2 at the same time as Fallout 4 survival mode is getting 2 episodes a week, and Fallout 4 No Guns isn't done yet. I'm just not sure if it's quite the right time yet. But I'll think about it, and it's really not decided yet. I kind of keep changing my mind, as I say. Anyway, let's move on to some questions. There's actually quite a few questions this month, so I'm going to go through all of them. I think I've got everything down. If I've forgotten something, sorry, my apologies. Bug me about it in the comments below. I'll get back to you. So, questions. Community. What is the community made up of? Someone was asking like how my community is, because like the starting question was like they like the comments section under my videos. I like the comment section under my videos too. It's very, very good. Like, there's genuinely really good conversations that happen down there. And someone was asking, is that because like the community is a bit more mature, it's a bit older or something? And someone said, well, what are the actual demographics of the community? Because I can see that. Google lets me see that in the analytics suite. The community is 94% male. It's never been much more balanced than that. It's really, really heavily male, which I find really odd. Because when I like consider the balance of comments, because obviously if people are behind like a username, you can't tell what gender they are, but for people who like are going by their like actual names, like it feels like there's actually a pretty good balance between men and women in the comment section. I see a lot of female faces and names commenting, a lot of some of the commenters that I'm more familiar with because they're regular commenters and they also chat to me on Twitter. I recognise them as female names and female photos. So I don't, it doesn't feel to me like the community is only 6% female, but that's what YouTube tells me is the case. I don't know if YouTube could somehow have made a mistake there, but I don't know. The 6% of women that are there are significantly more chatty than a great deal of their male counterparts. The 25 to 34-year-old group is the biggest single segment, with the kind of the 18 to 24, the second biggest. So we probably skew relatively older. Like, I can't see an exact average age, but looking at the charts, I guess it looks like the average age of a subscriber to this channel is about 26 or 27. It's just a little bit younger than me, but, broadly similar age, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like, people go through life stages and probably your sense of humour changes over time. So it kind of makes sense broadly that you're more likely to kind of share a sense of humour with someone broadly of the same generation as you. So I guess that makes sense. The interesting thing is we're really, really heavily US. I think we're about like maybe just over 50% of the entire community is based in the US, and I've spoken to like other YouTubers, other British YouTubers about this, and like they find that really odd because like lots of the time British YouTubers end up with quite heavily British communities and relatively small US communities because very often say British sense of humour works best to other British people, but no, in our case we're really heavily US based. I'm kind of never been entirely sure why. I think part of it might be when like the channel was originally going through like its growth from like almost nothing through to its first few thousand and up to its like first 10,000 or so. A lot of the people that we got came from Reddit, and I think Reddit as a website is quite heavily male as a website. I'm willing to be corrected. That's just my understanding of kind of what the demographic that reads Reddit is. And as a result, like we became like quite a male community in the early stages, and like very often the community grows because people tell other people they know about it. So if it was guys telling other guys they knew about this gaming channel, then possibly it happened that way. But yeah, for whatever reason, I don't think we've ever been any less than 90% male. I don't really know why. I really hope there's not like a reason why we like, we don't make good viewing to a female audience. Like I try and stay away from, like any form of like comedy that I think is like nasty to anyone. Like I really hate comedy that like tears people down. I try to avoid doing that, and I always stay away from like any like cheap cracks at like women. I don't think I'd ever say anything like that on the channel. So I don't think we like do anything that would like be really off-putting to a female gamer that had kind of come and checked out our channel. But yeah, for whatever reason, we don't have many of them. So that's what the community looks like. Someone was asking after Portal, would I ever do a Portal video? Maybe at some point, but there is a video of me playing Portal, or rather Portal 2, on the internet. When I played with Matophobia, I did that on one of the NerdQ live streams a fair few months ago. I will put a link in the description below to that because it's the NerdCube, the guy who puts up the unofficial NerdCube live streams. It is up on his channel. I will put a link to that in the description below for you. So yes, you can go and watch me playing Portal 2 with Matt straight after this video, in fact. Who are my favourite YouTubers? I'm still a fan of NerdCubed. I always have been. I've always kind of been very open to the fact that, I saw NerdCubed like 4 years ago at this point when I first started watching him, and I just thought, oh, that's really cool. I wish I could make a YouTube channel like that. Then like a year later, I actually got round to doing it, and then like nearly 3 years after that, here we are. So, and now we do the podcast with him every other week, which is really, really cool and still very surreal to me that actually is a thing that actually happens. So I still really like NerdCube. I love what he's done recently, by the way. He's kind of the refresh of the channel where now he does like the complete series every day, but he only does the heavily edited videos like every other day. It's a very brave thing to do because, like he said, he's kind of focusing on quality over quantity. So he's making sure that every kind of edited video he puts out, which are the most popular ones, and the same is kind of true for our channel, like they're less common, but they're really, really good quality. Like, I think that's really, really brave, and I think it's fantastic. I think you can really see it. Some of the quality of his most recent videos has been fantastic. So, it's really, really good. It's really, really cool, and I think he's doing some really exciting and cool with his channel right now. I love Chugga Conroy. Genuinely, I love everything Chugga Conroy does, pretty much. Like, when he does kind of his full-scale Let's Plays, he's doing Pokemon Platinum right now. Like, I watch, like, an episode of that before I go to bed, because that's normally, like, about the time it comes out, because he normally puts them out, like, late evening UK time. I don't, like, watch Chugga Conroy before bed. It's like a bedtime story. I find him very relaxing. He's very well planned out. He knows exactly what's going to happen. The production values are all very high. There's no shouting or anything. It's all kind of, well, okay, actually there is shouting. He always gets quite overexcited by things. But for the most part, like, it's all planned and soothing, and kind of, it's lovely to watch. I just enjoy watching. I find it very relaxing. So I like kind of checking that out. He's very knowledgeable. He's very, very knowledgeable about games he plays. He always shares really interesting information, which I find very, very cool indeed. And the other one is Big Ear Pulk. Big Ear Pulk? They're Icelandic. I don't know how you pronounce their bloody name. There's not even a K on the end of it, but I believe it is pronounced Big Ear Pulk. But it's spelled like, I think it's spelled Birgirpal. The guys who do the We Broke game name here. So just look up like We Broke, and then YouTube will auto-fill to like a game name. You'll find them. I love those guys. They do really, really heavily edited videos. Their kind of upload schedule is a bit like all over the place. I'm not sure there even is a schedule. I think it's just like whenever they upload a video, they upload a video. I love them. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I think that they're very, very good. They do very, very good musical work. They kind of mix music into their videos very, very well. They do really nice edits. They're very, very short videos. They're very short, but they're very, very tight. What is my proudest moment from a YouTuber point of view? It would probably actually be something that actually happened off channel, which was it would probably be doing the heists with Dan. Of Nerdcubed, just because, like, as I was actually just saying a minute ago by coincidence, I didn't order these questions in a logical order. I just ordered them at random, but this happens to have kind of segged quite nicely. As I say, he was like pretty much the inspiration for me starting the channel, and indeed like the editing style I use is heavily influenced by his, and he said he's heavily influenced by Hannah Hart. It's just a great big lovely chain of people influencing each other, which is lovely. But yeah, it was kind of just really surreal to go from like thinking I wish I could do that to okay, now I'm going to kind of vaguely kind of try and do my own version of that to okay, now I'm doing this and he's acknowledged me to, and now I'm actually doing a video with him that's going to be up on his channel, a video that's going to be up on the channel that inspired mine to exist. It was very surreal. It was really weird to do. But when I saw them out there, and I think he did a fantastic edit of those as well. I keep, even though they're not even hosted on my channel, I have a playlist on my YouTube page. If you go to YouTube/ManyATrueNerd, and you've got little shelves of content where I put like little playlists of different videos you can access on. I actually put like those 4 videos on a little shelf on my own homepage because I think they're so good. I think they're genuinely fantastic. It was just so weird to do, but it was just brilliant to see them come out. Like I loved those videos. I loved them so much. It was fantastic. It was great to work with Dan. He's genuinely a lovely guy. When you kind of speak to him, even when it wasn't being recorded, it was just all like offline after we were done. He was a lovely, lovely bloke. We've done the podcast since. We've kind of kept doing like some little things together as well. It wasn't the first time I met Matt. I knew Matt before that, and I'll kind of screw it. We'll cut to it now. Someone else was asking like, did I know the Nerdcube guys before I did YouTube? Because it feels like I know several members of the community. No, I only started knowing them after both his channel and my channel started existing. There's a member of our community, Super M, who does a charity live stream once a year. I don't know if Super M's on Patreon, supports on Patreon. I don't know whether he'll hear this or not. But yeah, he does a charity live stream for, I think it's part of Extra Life actually, once a year. And like when we were like, when was the first one? The first one we were probably like, we had like 2,000 subs at the time, but he was a subscriber back then. He asked me, did I want to come along? And I said, yeah, it's a good cause. So, we went along and it was a complete disaster. In fact, the highlights are on this channel. So the video is called How to Computer, and basically this was me trying to do kind of live streaming online gaming on my old PC. Which was a terrible idea. So it basically all went completely wrong. But it was still fun. We still had a lot of fun, and we chatted for a bit, and there's some good stuff in there. A year later, we did the same thing again. That's the video. What's it called? I think it's called Too Much Porn, Not Enough G's. Charity live stream highlights, which was not that long ago. I think that was the second one anyway. So we did it again a second time. But that very first one, where we had all the tech problems, Super M, who also has connections to the Nerdcube community, I think he handles one of the servers over there. I'm not 100%. I'm not sure if that's correct. I think he helps with on the servers Nerdcube size. So he knew Matt. So he called in Matt to help out my tech difficulties, and that's the first time me and Matt ever met each other, kind of just online, where I was trying to explain how I couldn't get flipping Skype to work, and Matt was laughing at me and calling me an idiot. And so it has continued for several years. The start of a beautiful thing. That was, I think, the first contact I ever had with the Nerdcube community. Then I don't really know how Dan became aware of us. Like, I know Dan was like, when he was planning the heists, was like, he put out like a poll, I think, saying like, who should I get on the heists? And we somehow made the long list of like 15 people who could be voted on. And we didn't like win or anything, but we didn't come last either. I think we came like 9th or something, which is way higher than we should have done, because like of all the channels that were suggested, we were by far the smallest, like by a factor of like, I think it was like factor of 10 or something. We were like the smallest channel on there, but we didn't come last. We came like 9th out of 15. I don't even know how we made it onto that list in the first place. I don't know who suggested us or how we got there. I've no bloody clue. But like at that point, then I think like the first time we got any contact was like someone tweeted at me like saying, you know, John, you should be on, you know, NerdCube's GTA Heist, which was still being planned at the time. And I kind of, you know, I just kind of replied to him saying, you know, I'd absolutely love to. You know, I love NerdCube, I love the channel. But I strongly suspect and I understand that Dan will probably be looking to work with bigger channels. And Dan replied to that. I think he didn't. I'm not sure he actually replied anything. He just replied like with an empty tweet, but with a little kind of a meme image, just with kind of I think it was like it's from what's it called? Balls. What's that doctor show? The comedy doctor show. Scrubs? Am I thinking of Scrubs? I think it's Scrubs. I never watched Scrubs. I haven't watched the show. I've seen it's like it's GIFs all over the internet. I don't know what it is. I've never watched it. So I think it's Scrubs, where it was like it was like just an image from someone from Scrubs going, "You're wrong." As I was like, "Oh, am I? What?" And then like, you know, a few weeks or months, I can't remember what the timescale was. Like he DMs me over Twitter, saying, "Do you want to be in high?" Like, hell yes. No, play it cool. Yeah, I think I could make some time for that. Oh, yes. But I to this day, actually, I never really asked him because I kind of thought it would have been a bit weird. So I never actually kind of asked him how exactly did my name even make it onto the long list in the first place. To this day, I don't know exactly how I came to Dan's attention, but it all worked out well, so isn't that lovely? So that was a very convoluted answer to what's my proudest moment on YouTube. Proudest moment outside of YouTube is probably getting my degree. Some of you will know I have a degree in classics, and some others of you will know that it's from Oxford University. I don't like talking about it. I really don't, because I think like some people, like if you say you've got a degree from Oxford, they judge it negatively more than positively. Like some people don't like it because like they might think you're like really snobby or something, and I hope I'm not. But like, yeah, my degree in classics is indeed from Oxford University, and I hold a 2-1 in classics from Oxford. I don't know if you guys in the US, whether you guys use the same degree classification system we do. Just in case you don't, a first is the best that you can have. Then there's a 2-1, a 2-2, a third. What's below a third? Is there just a pass below a third? I don't know what's actually below a third, but there's definitely, I think there's something below a third, but higher than like a fail. So yeah, 2-1 is like, it's not the best you can get. You can get a first, but like a first class degree from Oxford is very, very rare. And like, it's one of those things where if you want to get a first from Oxford, you basically have to like arrive, and the first day you're at Oxford, you basically have to kind of sit down and think to yourself, I'm going to get a first, which means I'm going to bloody keep my head down and work like solidly for the next 3 or 4 years, however long your degree course is. And like, it really means you kind of, you know, you don't have as much time for societies or socializing or clubs or anything like that. So like, I was never really up for that. I actually just wanted a 2-1. And I got my 2-1, but like it was quite frustrating in the end, because like I thought I was going to get quite a low 2-1. I was thinking I'm either going to get a 2-1 or a 2-2, and as long as I can scrape a 2-1, I'm happy, because no one in the future will ever ask, is it a good 2-1 or a low 2-1? As long as you've got a 2-1, you're fine. But it was actually quite a high 2-1. I think it was like 2 points out of 100 shy of a first. So I just thought, oh, that's really annoying. Now, if I just put a bit more effort in, I would have just scraped a first by accident. I don't feel like I deserved a first. I didn't work anywhere near hard enough to get a first, but I actually came quite close to a first, which is, yeah, it was kind of odd. But yeah, that was kind of to realise that actually kind of, you know, I worked hard. Like, you have to work hard to get a 2-1 from Oxford. But like, I hadn't like, you know, pushed myself to the absolute bone. I was probably a bit lazy in some ways. I probably started revising for my final exams relatively quite late, and I probably played way too much just Rome Total War in general over the years I was a student. Like that was a point where I played a lot of Rome Total War. I was really into Rome Total War in that period. I still love playing the odd bit of Rome Total War, but like that was probably the closest period I've ever had to like what people say. Like when people talk about gaming addiction, I don't think I've ever was addicted to a game, but I think if I've ever been close to a gaming addiction, it was playing Rome Total War while I was a student. I played a lot of Rome Total War, so I probably should have played less Rome Total War and focused more on actually studying classics. Then maybe I'd have just been able to scrape it first. But I still, even though I didn't get that first, I still consider gaining that high 2-1 kind of my proudest non-YouTube related achievement. What's the best shotgun in games? Oh, that's a hard question. My favourite shotgun in all of gaming? I'll probably go for the one in 13, the kind of the cel-shaded comic book shooter, just because it feels really meaty, and when you shoot someone with it, you actually kind of get, like, you see the because it's like, it's in comic book style, so you see, like, the word flying out of their mouths, and they get flung away, and there's little kind of panels cut away of them being smashed back by, it's just quite nice and visceral. I quite like the shotgun in 13. Do I ever feel restricted by being seen as like a Fallout YouTuber? Kind of, yes. I don't want to be. I'd rather just be like, you know, a general YouTuber that happens to love and do a fair bit of Fallout, which is why like I'm fairly determined to always keep like at least half the videos a week to be not Fallout stuff. We've probably broken that a little bit over the last few weeks with the combination of survival mode and no guns and you only live once. But as I say, that's kind of just because survival mode kind of took me a bit by surprise and I really wanted to get on top of that, and that's worked out really well. But yeah, I do try and do a lot of other stuff too. Like, I don't want to just be a Fallout YouTuber, because like, you know, at some, like, the danger of being like a mono game YouTuber is, sure, when there's a new release and whatever, you can do really, really well, but eventually interest will start to, you know, wane slightly in that game. And you see that, like, when Wings of Liberty, StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty came out, a huge number of YouTubers popped up who were exclusively StarCraft YouTubers. That was a big thing that went really, really well for a load of people. And loads of those people have just kind of dropped off the face of the earth now, even though, like, it worked really well at the time. Like, you know, people like Anara's StarCraft, or Sai StarCraft, or I think Husky StarCraft. I don't think Husky really does anything anymore at all. And I was really into StarCraft and watching StarCraft 2 when it originally came out. So like I followed a load of those guys. And like all of them, because they only did StarCraft, and there's a big lull between like Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, and then Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void, and now Legacy of the Void's out. It's kind of, well, that's pretty much all the StarCraft we're going to get for a long time, because whatever Blizzard does next, it's not going to be a StarCraft project. Maybe it'll be the new Warcraft project, who knows. So like, it just feels like those guys, because they did only one thing, they ended up, you know, they built up a really good audience, but then they fizzled out relatively quickly, and now most of them aren't around anymore. So like, I'm really determined to have other stuff that people like to watch. Recently, that's been going pretty well, actually. Like, stuff that I do that's like one-offs tends to do like only a little bit worse than the Fallout stuff, which is really cool. And also, I'm really glad that like the Fallout stuff, particularly the Fallout 4 survival stuff, has actually been doing, in some ways, it's been doing better than Fallout 3 You Only Live Once. Because I wouldn't want to also just be Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas focused and just Fallout 4 be an extra distraction on side. I'd like, obviously, you know, there's going to be more we can do with Fallout 4 going forward than Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. You know, there will be ultimately, you know, just if literally only because there is going to be no new content coming out for Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3, other than, you know, fan-made mods at this point. So, you know, I don't want to be just doing Fallout stuff, but I don't mind it, but I always do, I very cautiously make sure I do a lot of other stuff too. Someone asked about the Fallout 3 You Only Live Once schedule, like how far ahead I got on that. I didn't really let myself get too far ahead in that at all. I don't think I was ever more than 2 weeks ahead. There, I tended not to record like more than 2 parts in a single go, because I wanted to be able to like reflect what people were saying in the comments. So generally, like, if I could, I just recorded 1 part for a week, put that up, looked at the comments, and then made the next part. I don't think I was ever more than 2 weeks ahead for the entire run of the series. I maybe at one point I was like 3 weeks ahead, but I was never more than that, and I honestly don't think I was more than 2. The Witness, have I played The Witness and what do I think about it? No, to be honest, I like, after The Witness came, like, I saw The Witness like as a game that was about to come out, because like I keep an eye on like the upcoming releases quite closely on Steam and stuff. I like looked at The Witness and I looked at the trailer and I thought, doesn't really interest me. And then when it came out, I looked at like, I just kind of had a look at someone else's playthrough. I kind of remember I just like searched The Witness. It wasn't a YouTuber I was familiar with, and I just like watched like 10 minutes of it, and it's like, no, this is something I cannot see anything interesting here. Like, I didn't like the look of it. I just thought, I don't know what commentary wise I can add to this, because it's like one puzzle. It's a very similar puzzle, albeit one that gets more complicated. over time, and a lot of dead time wandering around trying to figure out puzzles or doing a puzzle over another, trying to find the right solution. I think it's just one of those things where I just look at this and think YouTubers cannot do that much with this. There's not much to work with, and it's kind of pretty but not spectacular, and the gameplay doesn't really look that interesting to me. So it's just like one of those games where on multiple levels I looked and just thought, no, that's not a game I can make a good video out of. So no, I never played it. Would I play the fan-made Love is Strange? Honestly, probably not. I don't think it's wacky enough for me. I know that's kind of a strange thing to say about a fan-made visual novel about a time-travelling hipster, but I honestly think it's not weird enough. Like, I like my visual novels and dating things to be either unutterably awful or completely bonkers and off the wall, and I don't think Love is strange enough, so I will probably pass on that one and wait for... Actually, I'm really kind of keeping a close eye on what the guys who made Panzermädels are going to do next, because they have said they are genuinely going to make that my first and only trip to North Korea thing into a game, and if they do, I will be all over that, because it was hilarious. I loved Panzermädels. What is my accent? Someone asked what my accent is. I don't know what my accent is. I honestly don't know. Like, I don't think I've got a proper received pronunciation accent. I don't think my accent is like that formal at all. But I genuinely am not quite sure exactly where it comes from. I've lived like all over the United Kingdom. I've lived in the Midlands. I've lived in the home counties. I've lived in the kind of more generally like the wider south area. I've lived in London, both north and south London. And I've like picked up bits of accents from all of these places. But like, neither of my parents speaks with a particularly posh accent at all. Neither of them have like a received pronunciation to their speech whatsoever. So I probably actually have a slightly like more posh accent than either of my parents do or any of my siblings. So I genuinely don't know where my accent comes from. It's just kind of a function of living all around the United Kingdom. I've picked it up from somewhere, but I cannot for the life of me tell you where it comes from. Streams! Will there be more streams? Hopefully. Yes, I just need to kind of... I realised in the first one, basically if I'm going to need streams, I can't do them on my own. I actually need help to do them, to like moderate the chat and keep an eye on it and read out questions and stuff, because it's too difficult to play and commentate and be minding the chat at the same time. It's just not really workable. So like either I'll need Claire's help, or potentially, this is something I'm thinking about, like by the end of this year, depending on how the channel goes, I might consider hiring someone part-time to help out with things like live streams, community play days, generally like channel admin-y stuff, just so I've got more time to actually just play and record and edit, so I can actually get more videos out, and therefore like I do, because like a live stream is a big commitment to do, like the planning of it and then actually doing it, it's quite time consuming, it's quite stressful to try and do on your own, so I'll need some help on that. And also I'm still just fixing up and kind of figuring things out with Twitch to get that all set up. That's actually more complicated than I thought it was going to be, because they're based in the US and I'm based in the UK, and there's fiddliness with tax and whatever, so I'm fixing that out too. LA Noire was great, someone said. Could you do more stuff like LA Noire? I'd love to do more stuff like LA Noire. But as far as I'm aware, LA Noire is quite a unique concept, and I can't find anything else that's like LA Noire-y. If there are good LA Noire-like games out there, let me know. I will gladly give them a look. Couple of channel-related questions here that I found quite interesting. So someone was asking about like the scale of the channel, like the channel growth, and like what I'm thinking about it, and like how I think it's gonna look. Like I've actually put a fair bit of thought into that. Like I do kind of plan out what I want the channel to do. Like by the end of this year, by the end of 2016, I really want the channel to be at like, I really want it to be at 250,000 subscribers as an absolute bare minimum. If it's not at 250,000, then I've kind of basically done a really bad job growing the channel, because it ought to be. It ought to be growing that fast. So that's kind of like the bare minimum which I'm satisfied with. My kind of stretch goal is more like 500,000, but like that's going to take me changing a lot of stuff around and like figuring out some stuff that really appeals to a lot of people to make that happen. Because that's going to be like, I think we were like, what were we? Maybe like 125,000 or something at the turn of the year. I don't know. We were 100,000 back in... No, it might have been higher than that. Maybe we were 135,000 at the turn of the year. So yeah, it'd be like the channel growing 4 times. Yeah, about the channel growing 4 times in a single year if we were at 500,000 by the end of the year. But that's kind of my stretch goal. For 1 million, I would basically need to do a complete step change. Like the scale and the rate at which subscribers join the channel will have to complete step change from what it is now to have any chance of 1 million. Like I would love to have 1 million. in the end. I'd love to hit that 7 figures. That would be absolutely gorgeous, but that's a very long way off. Even with a massive step change that that's something you can't plan for. It just sort of happens. Even then, that would be a very long way off. In terms of like what that would ultimately do to like the shape of the community, the thing is like the community that I've gathered so far, which I love, I think it's a really kind of interesting, mature community that, keeps a really interesting comment section, is generally a fantastic community to work with. Like, as long as I don't change the style of what I'm doing, even if I were to like grow it to be 4 times bigger than it is right now, I don't see any reason why it would not be the same, the same tone, just bigger. Because, like, if I'm doing the same thing, then I should be attracting similar people who want to subscribe to it. So, like, if, for example, I would decide, you know what, that Jacksepticeye is getting a lot of subscribers, I'm just going to do exactly what he does. Well, then, okay, fine, maybe that would work. It could work, perhaps. It probably wouldn't. But just let's say it would. Then at that point, obviously, because I've changed the style of what I'm doing and I'm attracting a much more young audience in, well, then, obviously, therefore, the tone of the community would completely change down in the comment section. If I keep doing what I've been doing so far, I don't think it should. The other thing people asked for was YouTube Red, whether YouTube Red is working for us and whether we can see that. Yes, I can. YouTube Red, and I predicted this. This is exactly what I predicted in my like little kind of discussion video. The YouTube paid subscription, are they a good thing? That was a video I made like ages back when just after this was announced, and I predicted that the amount that you would get paid per a Red view would almost certainly be vastly higher than the amount you get paid per ad. And so it has come to be. Just to kind of give you an idea of what it means, like the number of views that are coming from people who have signed up to YouTube Red is about 2%. But the amount of, as a proportion of the total ad revenue, i.e. the money that YouTube pays me, completely excluding all of the Patreon funds, of the money that YouTube pays me, 20% of it is from YouTube Red earnings. So basically, if a person signs up to Red and then watches one of my videos, that view is worth 10 times more to me than someone who watches if they haven't signed up to YouTube Red. So, like, as was almost inevitable, because any tiny share of an actual subscription payment is always going to be worth more than an ad, because ads are worth so tiny amounts. It's insane how little an ad view is really worth in the grand scheme of things. So, like, the YouTube Red payments and the Patreon payments were always going to be kind of a way more efficient way of funding the channel than just ad revenue is. So that also, by the way, feeds into the fact that we're a heavy US community, because again, I've discussed this with British YouTubers, and many of them are like saying, we don't see any Red earnings. Why don't we get like any earnings from Red whatsoever? It's because Red hasn't been enabled around the world yet. I think it's only enabled in the US for now, maybe some other countries, but like I don't think it exists in the UK. You can't sign up to YouTube Red in the UK yet. So if you've got like lots of US subscribers, then you can see lots of Red income coming in. Lots, but 20% of the total is not nothing. But if you have lots of British subscribers and not many US subscribers, potentially you don't see much at all. So that's kind of how it's worked out for me. But yeah, Red has worked out very, very nicely. Someone asked if there could at some point be many a True Nerd servers. There probably will be at some point in the future, but it's a long way off. That's like way down a list of stuff I need to get done yet. Like, we need to get Twitch sorted out yet. We need to get the merchandising sorted out yet. We need to get community playdays actually stabilized as being a semi-regular thing. And then I need to probably, once all that's happening, I probably need to think about actually hiring someone. Because between, like, if the channel grows well this year, ideally over 250,000 subscribers, plus Patreon as well, which has been fantastic, and if Red revenue kind of goes up a bit, especially if Red gets rolled out to the rest of the world, and generally more people sign up to Red in general, then by the end of this year, I think we'll be in a position where I can actually hire someone. We can actually start having a community of people I actually hire, which is not that unusual. Like, plenty of YouTube channels have staff, like, the NerdCube channel, just because it's a channel I'm very familiar with because I know the guys there. They've got Tracy and Rebecca and Matt are all on payroll. I think there might be more people. I don't know like who necessarily is on payroll or not there, but I think they have multiple people on payroll. At the bare minimum. So like it very often does happen. So I think like it would not be unreasonable for us to have a part-time person on payroll by the end of this year. And at that point, probably we can start looking at servers, but like I really don't want to take on something that would effectively just be a commitment of my time to manage and keep an eye on when there's so much that's more important that hasn't been done yet. So maybe, but not imminently. Here is a fun question. Someone asked, who am I speaking to when I say, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is many a true nerd, and this is who am I actually speaking to when I when I do that. Is there is the cat in the room? It's like, no, there's never anyone in the room. It's always just me, sitting in a room alone. It sounds odd. And it probably is odd to some people that you're basically sitting in an empty room and you're speaking as if you're speaking to someone. And it's very odd when you first start doing it. And that's why I think when you look at someone who's new to YouTube and you watch their videos, and you watch my early videos, absolutely I did the same thing. They sound very muted. Because it feels really awkward to be speaking quite loudly and quite fast and quite enthusiastically when it's just you sitting in an empty room by yourself. It feels really odd to do, but you just kind of get used to it. And that's why the intro is really important to me, by the way. The intro is really important because the intro gets you into the right kind of tone of voice. Because I know what the intro should sound like. The intro always sounds the same. You could probably open 5 of my videos from over the last few months, next to each other, and probably, if I'm right, the timings and the cadence and the intonation should all be exactly the same between all of them, because it should always be the same. It should always be, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is many a true nerd, and welcome to. It should always be exactly that. And if it's always exactly that, I know what it sounds like, and it sounds quite loud, quite fast, quite enthusiastic, and that gets me into the right tone of voice. Because if I just started saying anything, if I just started saying, so this is more Fallout, I'd probably start in a tone of voice, be like, okay, so now we're back here at Corvega, we're doing a bit more Corvega. For someone coming into that, it probably sounds a little bit muted. So as long as I always begin with the intro, I always start off kind of nice and enthusiastic, and then it kind of rolls into the rest of the video nicely, which is kind of, that's kind of why intros are really, really important, and why many YouTubers do always do a standardized intro, because it gets them into the right frame of mind, and it gets them into their kind of, their YouTube voice, if you like. Because YouTubing isn't an act, none of it's fake, but you do have a voice, the good afternoon, ladies, that's not the voice I speak with day to day. I don't kind of go up to Claire and say, good afternoon, Claire, I'm John, this is many a true nerd. No, that would be very, very weird. You kind of have your speaking voice, and then you've got the voice that you use on the channel, and then you've also got the introductory voice, which is a bit more kind of loud and aggressive and stuff. Aggressive isn't really the right word. Enthusiastic, that's better. Aggressive, I don't know why I say aggressive there. But yeah, you just get used to it. You just get used to speaking to yourself in an empty room. It's something that comes with practice after doing this for a few years. Fallout 4, you only live once survival. Surely that's impossible. Someone says, oh, let me try. Let me try and fail a few times. I'm sure we'll find a way to do Fallout 4, you only live once on survival difficulty. Now that survival exists, it'd be almost disappointing if I didn't do it on survival difficulty. Maybe I could split it in two. Maybe I could do it once outside of survival and then move it into survival or something. I'd need to think about it. That's a very long way off. I'm still learning the flipping game at the moment, so that's a long way off whenever that happens. What's my favourite first-person shooter, and the one I've been vaguely teasing at for a little mini-series of the best first-person shooter ever made? The best first-person shooter ever made is Time Splitters 2, obviously. I thought that'd be self-evident. Yeah, I have been thinking at some point I want to do a little Time Splitters 2 series. That will happen at some point. The annoying thing is, there basically isn't an HD version of Time Splitters 2, because it was never really ported to PC. So that means I'd be stuck with the flipping GameCube version, which would be 480, that I'd be upscaling to 720 with a little hardware upscaler I've got, which wouldn't look perfect, but, and also the GameCube controller is pretty much arse for first-person shooters, because the little C-stick is terrible for aiming, but I want to do it anyway. It's a fantastic game, and I just genuinely want to give it some love on the channel. What is my daily schedule? Well, that one's quite easy, actually. Basically, I record in the morning, I edit in the afternoon, and then I let videos render and upload in the evening, going into overnight while I'm managing the channel and chatting to people online. So basically I'll do my big daily comment, read and reply and whatever in the evening of UK time. That's a good time for me to be online and around, because obviously that's when US people start getting in from work or school or whatever, which is good, because as I say, over half the community is American. So I make an effort to shift my day a little bit. So very often I'll stay up until quite late into the night or early into the morning. It's not unusual for me to go to bed at 1 a.m. because I like being around for the Americans, and then I'll just get up a bit later the following day. So I kind of I've shuffled my my working day a bit, so it's almost it's not quite an East Coast working day, but it's not too far off. So I almost live my life on American hours just so I can always be around for the US subscribers a bit more. Could I summarize the US political situation at the moment in 30 seconds? I don't need 30 seconds. Here is my summation of the current situation in US politics. Guys, seriously? There, done. That's it. That's my summation of US politics. We look at it from over here and we're just bamboozled. Like, we're genuinely quite scared of Donald Trump. Over here. We're also scared of Ted Cruz. We're scared of both of the serious Republican candidates at the moment, because Ted Cruz, the more you look at him, the more crazy we spot from our point of view. We're scared. Someone asked for more cooking. There will be more cooking. The channel anniversary is coming up soon. The channel's 3rd anniversary, so obviously there'll be some cooking for that. What's my most anticipated game of 2016? I think it's still Hitman. I really loved the first episode of Hitman. I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. So actually just kind of like Hitman content coming, dotted through the rest of the year is really exciting to me. So I suspect Hitman's going to continually be my most anticipated game, even as it keeps coming out. What's my taste in music like? My taste in music is terrible. I do like a bit of classical music. Someone was like suggesting, this is a bit unfair actually. Someone said, oh, I know you studied classics at university, so I bet you like classical music. It's a bit of an odd assumption to make. Just because they've got classic in the name. Classical and the classics as in ancient languages are not the same thing at all. But never mind. But okay, fine. Yes, actually, I do occasionally like having classic FM on in the background. Just occasionally, I like having a bit of classic FM on. I've got a really nice radio in the space I record in, by the way. And sometimes when I'm editing, I just like having a bit of classic FM on in the background. But I also like really, really terrible pop music from the 90s and noughties. I really do. I like dreadful, dreadful pop and poppy dance and poppy rock stuff from the 90s and noughties. I have a dreadful taste in music. It's utterly abysmal. As you probably may have noticed from the fact I occasionally sneak Avril Lavigne lyrics into my videos. What do I do to relax? Being a YouTuber is kind of a bit weird. YouTube can kind of eat your life, which is you get up and then like after you've kind of, had some breakfast and had a shower, you basically record, then you edit, then you start it rendering and you go and you start putting out videos and dealing with the community. And like, you don't kind of work like as intensively as you might do at another job, but you spread out the hours quite a lot. So pretty much like from the moment you start working in the morning, you then keep doing YouTubey stuff right until the end of the evening when you're like replying to comments at the end of the evening. So like on and off, I do YouTube pretty much all the time that I'm awake. Instead of like having like a full evening off like you might do with a normal job, instead you probably like space out your day a bit and you get little bits of like odd half hours and hours off dotted about. And in those times, like I read, I watch other YouTubers, I just kind of chill and listen to music. There's, nothing particularly remarkable really. What did I do pre-YouTube? I worked in startups. I actually did startup work. I've never founded my own startup. When I started doing this channel, this was the first business I founded because, of course, just for the sake of the British tax authorities not coming and arresting me, Many a Truner does have to be registered as a business so I can pay tax properly on the earnings from the channel. But that was the first business I ever actually set up. But I've worked in small startups that are really early. I like working in startups. It's kind of cool. Describing what I did is kind of difficult because I've always been a real generalist. Like I've done like a bit of products and a bit of like copywriting and a bit of marketing. Like I've always sold myself as quite a generalist, which is why I'm quite good in startups, because very often startups is a very small number of people where people have to be good at lots of different things, and I'm good at lots of different things. I'm like pretty good across the marketing-y, advertising-y, online media-y space in general. But like I never worked in like a big corporate environment. I always liked working in like small offices from like really interesting little products and stuff that were like new. I'm still close with some of the people that I've worked with in the past as well. Like when I left to do this, like there was no bad blood or anything. Like I'm still very close to those guys and I kind of keep in touch with them as well. But yeah, that's kind of, it's very hard to say exactly what I did because I did a little bit of everything. I've just been a bit of a generalist across like general vague marketing-y disciplines. At some point, would I consider making my own game? I'd love to, but I don't have any of the skills to do that. Making your own game is really, really hard. I promise you, making your own game is incredibly difficult. Like at some point, like I sat down for a weekend. I can't remember what the tool was now. Like I bought one of those like little tools. That was like teach yourself like how to make a game using like a simple visual interface to kind of get round that kind of teaches you coding as you go along. And like it utterly fried my brain. Like I spent all weekend doing this one thing. I can't remember what the tool was now. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. But I spent like a whole weekend. I spent probably like must have spent like 30 hours across 2 days just sitting in front of a computer trying to make this all make sense to me. And like at the end of it, like I vaguely understood some basics, and then I kind of like stepped away from it for a day, and I came back to it a day later. I was like, I'd forgotten all of it because it was too like it's really difficult to make a game. All right, it requires like art skills that I don't have, and programming skills that I don't have, and level design skills that I don't have. Like so many skills I do not have. I'm happier doing what I do. I don't think I'll ever make my own game. If I ever were to make a game, I'd probably use one of those like those kind of visual novel producing things, because there's simple tools you can do to make your own visual novel. Some like one time, like for fun, I might make my own visual novel. But other than that, I can't see myself ever making a game. Speaking of games, that's a really rubbish seg, John, because we're speaking about nothing but games. Speaking of games, what's my perfect game? Well, New Vegas is pretty much my perfect game. It pretty much already exists. New Vegas is right there. Like, Skies of Arcadia is another one of my absolute favourite games. Pokemon Silver, I think, is a spectacular game. The Mass Effect franchise is a fantastic series of games. There's a lot of good games, but I'd say New Vegas is closest to my perfect game. Tropico! Have I ever played it? No, I've never played it. I have actually, I picked it up, some of the more recent ones, in a big sale, in a Steam sale at some point. I will at some point look at them. I've been meaning to. SimCity, the little SimCity miniseries, the SimCity 4 miniseries, that went bloody well. Loads of people loved that. So clearly I need to do more of that sort of thing. I will probably do, there'll be a Cities Skylines, and I know Tropico's not really like SimCity, but kind of vaguely management-y, city and community, whatever-y, buildy type things could be a good thing to do. So you'll probably see more of those coming up. Someone pointed out in Panzermädels, at the very end of Panzermädels, when the I want to be the fascist tonight line came up, there was a bit of a cut after, there was kind of some laughing, then a cut, then my next line. You're right, there was about 20 seconds of me just uncontrollably laughing there. Sadly, someone actually asked if they could see it. Sadly, no. The thing is, after I'm done with a video and I've rented it and I've uploaded it and it's actually been released to you guys, after it's all fine, I've verified there's no problem with it, I delete the original base footage. That all goes. Because the thing is, if I record for a few hours, that's maybe can be 30 gigabytes of video, the raw video file, and then another 2 gigabytes for my own voice as well to go over the top of it. So when you're dealing with 33 gigabytes of footage that might be only one video's worth of footage, that stacks up really quickly. And I have terabytes and terabytes of storage here, because being a YouTuber is really quite you get through storage space very, very quickly. But yeah, I don't want to I long ago gave up on keeping all the base files for everything. I keep a copy of all of my finished videos. I have copies of all of my finished videos on an external hard drive, but I don't keep any of the raw base files. So sadly, I cannot show you the full, basically me just kind of laughing uncontrollably for a good 45 seconds at that ridiculous line, that ridiculous, wonderful line at the end of Panzermädels. One person was asking after Jet Force Gemini and Omerta. I'm sorry. I'm really genuinely sorry, but I very much doubt you're ever going to see either of those on the channel again. I'm very, very sorry. It's just not going to happen. Neither of them were desperately popular series, so I can't see it happening now. And the last one, someone asked, when is my next visit to the US? I don't really have a planned visit to the US at the moment. Honestly, the US is a very long way to go. It's a very long way to go, and it's also really expensive. Crossing the Atlantic is very, very expensive. It would cost me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds to go over to the US, and right now I don't really have a reason to. I do have some friends dotted around the US. I know someone I know a few people in Seattle, actually. Seattle's my favourite US city. I love that place. And I do have some friends there, but I honestly can't see myself going halfway across the world and spending hundreds, if not thousands of pounds total to kind of just make a flying trip to the US. So I'm sorry. As far as I'm aware, there's not going to be a US trip or a US meetup soon. Though I am kind of getting into the habit of doing more conventions. So depending on the scale of the channel and how many people there is a good chance at some point I will do a meetup at say EGX, the big game show or something, or at some other big game show too. So maybe one of those days I'll do that sort of thing, but I can't see myself doing a visit to the US for the community anytime soon, I'm afraid. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. I've just thrown away the pad there with all the kind of the notes and the questions and my scribbled notes on them there. Oh, there we are. We're already in April. In fact, is it the 9th. If it's the 9th, then that means I'm already a third of the way through April, and this is the March Patroncast, so go me. And there's only 20 days, another 20 days. But that's fine, because I talked about Fallout this time, I can talk about Let's Plays and the relationship between them and devs and responsibilities that lie on both sides and stuff next time. So maybe there'll be a shorter Patroncast at the end of April, depending on how many questions there are. But yes, as usual, thank you all so very, very much. This is, I think we passed 3,000 US dollars a few days ago, which is amazing. Truly, truly amazing. Because obviously we're not the only YouTube channel that has Patreon. Quite a few other YouTube channels have patrons. But you can look at like the Patreon of like much bigger YouTube channels than ours. And like they can have like the same or a bit less or really not much more on Patreon commitments than we do for a channel that's like 10, 20, 50 times bigger than ours in the number of subscribers, which is fantastic and a real testament to the community being very, very cool and willing to play ball and very generous in keeping me doing this. And hopefully, as I say, therefore, by the end of this year, this can all kind of help secure us actually having, like, I can actually get an employee. And that will hopefully mean we can do live streams, we can do regular community play days, we can do the merchandising stuff. And as kind of came up earlier, hopefully, we might well be able to do servers as well. But I suspect once we get into like that many things, a YouTube channel that's growing and all those things on top of it, sooner or later I'm going to need some help. So yes, that I suspect will all be to come before the end of the year. But thank you also very, very much in the meantime. And the April Patroncast is going to happen in April. If it bloody kills me, it's gonna happen. So yes, that's gonna happen. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I've been John. It's been Many a True Nerd, and this has been the March kind of a bit Patroncast. Thank you all so very, very much, and goodbye.